starting. You get that same screen, starting recording?
Hang on, let me check.
We are recording.
Yes.
It's the Randcast.
No.
You just moved. How many seconds are we in? We got 9 seconds. Oh, we're past the 9 seconds already.
Damn
anyway, you know what we'll do, though, with the 9 seconds? So I know what you were saying last night or trying to say, and that's the thing with you and me. We know what we're trying to say insofar as how to, fuck with the production of the podcast and whatnot. But in a sense, we're both trying to say it because we don't know what use kids call it. But I know what you mean. What we may do, man, is let's just be us, do what we do, and then we'll add it into the most entertaining thing that we come up with, and then we'll put that in the first 9 seconds, and then see if that doesn't hook them there to, whenever it ends up being in the podcast,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did that make sense, what I just said?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. I don't know why, dude. Technology F's me up.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much, but I just don't really get into it as much as I used to. I don't know. I don't mind being behind the curve on it, I guess.
Well, I gotta do something.
I know, I understand. I understand. I'm talking about from a personal standpoint, like as far as me. No, not as far as we're concerned, but just me personally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got to come up with something as the captain of the ship. And it's just like this. Now that I think about it, I left home at 15, so I was robbed of my education. And people can say you go back to school anytime, all they want, but they don't know until they've been in the situation,
Yeah.
So that being said, I said, well, man, over here, Harry's on Rand, and I'm going to pimp him. Kenny Mergenthaler, Harry's on Rand and Palatine. You can't miss him right at Lake Cook and Rand Road. His family has owned that shop since the 50s. But anyway, I loved Kenny. I liked working there. I didn't know how to use a tool. But I thought to myself, man, I might be in a great spot. Everything happens for a reason. I'll learn a trade. A lot of mechanics didn't go to mechanic school. They got in there, they dug in, and they learned. But at the end of the day, and if I loved it, I would have learned it more. But I understood mechanics. I understood how a motor ran, how a transmission worked, how the rear end worked. I understood suspension. I could bust tires like nobody's business. But when it came down to actually being a mechanic instead of just a parts changer, Casey, it's just like with technology today. I understand it in my brain, but something happens between my brain and my hands where I just can't do it on my own.
Right. No, I mean, I get you. I get that.
So did you watch any wrestling this week?
Did I watch any wrestling this week? Let me think. I watched some old stuff. I watched a little bit from, I watched a little bit from SummerSlam 90. Don't ask me how I got into that, but,
Tell me that era, because I was there then doing extra work as Jerry
This was Hogan. I watched Hogan and Earthquake. Big John Tenta. Holy crap.
Now, this is something that I better say before I forget. Did you know I was the first one to take the Tenta, what was that ass bomb he did? What did they call it?
What did they call it?
The Earthquake?
They probably just called it the Earthquake, didn't they? Did they?
Yeah, I just worked, I want to say Dino Bravo. Yeah,
sure.
I was the first one to take Tenta's finish on television. I just worked Dino Bravo, and it was great because, Tenta then was a fucking gargantuan, larger than life. Talk about larger than life. And he had the accent and all that. And he's kind of hard to understand because the accent is so thick and heavy. He's like, oh, mate, I'm really sorry. I did it last night during a dark match, and they said I was too light tonight I'm going to have to be a little heavy on you. And I was like, oh, well, when you're on the road, and I know, well, maybe you haven't been there, but on the road, when you don't have a home, you're living out of hotels, you don't have a home base, you get plugged up, or you go the other way and you get the shits. It doesn't matter about what you ate. It's about what your schedule is like,
Sure, sure.
So that was a 2 or 3 day shot for WWE at the time. So my stomach was bothering me,
Yeah.
and I couldn't figure out what the issue was. I couldn't figure out if I had the shits or if I was constipated,
Yeah.
So when he went in to do the ass bomb on me and he hit me, it wasn't as bad as you would think,
Oh.
but, when he hit me, all of a sudden, and then you can see Tenta, even if you look at the match, look around like, oh my God, what was that? Did I kill him? Did his intestines come out of his ass? And we laughed about it afterwards. I'm like, no, brother, thank you. You actually fixed me.
Oh my gosh.
That really happened, though. That's a shoot,
So you worked Dino, and then what? The Quake was seconding him, came
Yeah, I
out and
think
gave
it
him
was
the finish.
Dino.
That would have made sense.
Yeah, it was Dino,
For that time
Frenchie
period.
Martin, and the Earthquake.
Yeah. It wasn't Jimmy Hart?
I think it might have been Frenchie. I think it was first Frenchie, and then they switched over to Jimmy.
Okay, yeah. I knew Frenchie was in there, but you might have been right. That might have been how it went down.
I
know you could be, I know Frenchie was in there with Dino, and usually I'm pretty good with, my lineage of when things happened, but I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was, Frenchie was there in the beginning, and then Jimmy took over.
Yeah, if you have the network, just look up Dino Bravo versus Jerry Fox, and you'll see. It was hilarious, though, because in the tape you saw Tenta turning back and turning forward, going, oh, did I kill the guy?
So that's somebody. How was Dino to work?
Oh, dude. So, Dino was one of those guys. He was like a Canadian Saito, where he's just so strong.
Right.
You have no choice to do whatever he is going to do. Like, he picks you up with, you don't have to push.
Right. Right.
But what a class guy. He was great, very gracious, which at that time I was very lucky I was happy to have somebody up there to work with that was gracious,
Right.
I like Dino.
Yeah, I was just curious. I guess I haven't really talked to too many people that have worked with Dino.
He was out of there so he was out of there, in and out of there, probably before any of the guys like you worked with PCO. I bet you PCO.
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I think he knew Dino, but I think Carl Pierre would have been, he wasn't there when Dino was there. Dino's been probably whacked by that time, maybe not.
Well, I'm going to say, even in Canada, I'm sure their paths had crossed, but Dino was out of there before even PCO broke in, who's been around for 30 years.
That's what I'm saying, yes. Yeah. PCO wasn't there. He
I
came in well.
I never realized the kind of money Dino drew up there as a baby face until later.
Yeah, no. In Montreal?
Yeah.
And when they ran the territory up there, yeah, he was part owner. At one point.
Yeah, he was royalty.
Yeah, Dino was part of the business. I don't know the ins and outs. I just know that he did have a piece of the territory up there during the 70s.
Yeah. So over, dude.
Yeah. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but yeah, Dino was actually really over in when you're part of a territory. I mean, you got a lot of juice, so Dino
and isn't that the capital of Canada? Is Montreal the capital?
Oh.
Well, either way, I don't know, but I do know that's just a gigantic, heavily populated part of the country.
Oh, yeah, Montreal, for sure.
So to be over there is a feat.
I mean, I think when I worked for Vince, we'd go there 2-3 times a year. Maybe as much as like a Chicago.
Yeah, back then they used to go in there more. I'd say it was probably really up there second or third to Madison Square Garden for Vince.
Well, I mean, if you want to count house shows too, well, more than 2 or 3 times. I'm just talking about just television or pay-per-views. We went in there a few times.
Sure.
Which, that's, usually I would say we probably more than that, because usually they would hit a town, a major market maybe twice a year for television.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I would say Montreal would have been, in that upper echelon of towns they hit more than once for television.
Holy shit. Now that we're talking about it, old Jerry Fox teamed with Hillbilly Jim up there in Montreal against the Orient Express and Fuji.
Really?
I just remembered that. Yeah, go to the network. I forgot all about that.
I didn't know that happened. Wow.
Yeah, it was funny. That's when I first realized that they liked me up there.
Well, there's no doubt that Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond were unbelievable to work with, right?
Oh, yeah, Patrick and Paul. I really enjoyed both of them. And I loved the piss out of Hillbilly Jim.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that goes without saying. I mean, Pat Tanaka, what a God. If you can't have a good match with that guy, then you need to hang him up, right?
A legit 181 pounds in the land of the Giants. And he was over.
It could get heat.
And he was over.
Yeah. I know. He's the shit, dude. I love, that's one guy I didn't get to work. As many guys as I got to work, that's one guy I always wanted to work. And I'll throw even Rick Martel and Pat Tanaka. Those are two guys that I've always wanted to work that I never got to work.
Brother, Patrick was a class act. If it wasn't for Patrick, I never would have gone to Memphis.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I'm up there doing stuff for Vern, and I ended up being in a really good position without even knowing I was in a good position. When I went up there, booked originally through Sam DeCero at Windy City, and, his whole thing was shit. You should be grateful you even lock up, So I'm up there and I worked 3 times.
And who said that?
Sam DeCero.
Oh.
He sent everybody else up there thinking they were going to be going over and they would be handed enhancement guys. And even as a green kid, I was like, I watched the ESPN show. That doesn't make sense, but okay, I'm along for the ride.
You're like, yeah, I wouldn't even put myself over. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So everybody was pissed at me secretly, because as a rib to this Sheik Hassan, the first match I had was with Larry Zbyszko. Now, you were talking about my 4th match ever,
Yeah.
And Larry doesn't call shit,
Right.
But so anyway, he also said, he did ask me, what do you do out there? And don't give me this, whatever you want to do, sir. I'm wearing this belt and I've got to be beating someone. What do you do? And I'm like, oh, hamana, So I don't know. I can't remember what I did. He said, okay, well, we'll get that in somewhere. And I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants type of wrestler, kid, So we didn't call shit, and that was scary. But I made it. I passed my test,
Yeah.
The next match as a rib, it was against this Hassan Hussein, who was a legitimate shooter from Beirut, man.
Oh.
And he's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And that's where I learned. He told me, no, I'm going to hit you. I work very rough, and you have to hit me back as hard as I hit you, So I'm like, holy shit. So right before that match, I saw a friend of mine who was 275 pounds, the Wisconsin State bench champion, walked out on the guy because of how snug he was. Now I'm going in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but hey, man, I wanted to wrestle. So we go out there and, he beat the shit out of me and I half beat the shit out of him. But then the rib was on. Vern and Greg didn't like him for something that he did there. So when he went to hit me with a top rope splash, he hits me, the ref counts 3, and they put me over by disqualification in my 5th match. So now I'm really over with the couple thousand in attendance at the Mayo Civic Center, and they put me in there to main event. was me and somebody against the fucking idiots, the destruction crew.
Yeah.
And they give us time, and that match is somewhere too. But anyway, the bottom line to it is Enos and Bloom are just big, decent looking kids that don't really know how to work yet, but Vern was hard up for talent. They were local. They didn't have to be flown in. But they gave us some crazy shit like 10, 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So the kids get lost, and I just inadvertently, dude, I wasn't stealing. I was just doing what I had been doing in camp when I was working with the Texas Hangmen or the Terminators at Windy City's training camp. So I just start working and taking over in the match where I was supposed to take over in the match. So I end up getting half the match. And by this time, there's a Rock and Randy chant going in the building because they think I'm something now, you know. So
right.
At the end of the day, the destruction crew was trying to do the fucking Road Warrior finish.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the power that the Road Warriors did. They had power, but not like them. And they also didn't have the timing. So they put me up there, and the one comes off the top to nail me. So instead of him throwing me over, because he didn't have the strength to do that, I do a fucking shooting star from the guy's shoulders. So it ends up turning into this fucking outstanding bump that was on the trailer for their show Forever and a Day. So I come back from that one, and Vern is the first one to come up and shake my hand, and Greg comes up, jumping up and down, and goes, "That was great. Are you okay?" And actually hugged me. So the rest of the guys were pissed at me because I got over by accident.
So, what was it like to work with Hillbilly Jim?
Oh, man, he's such a great guy. You know, I saw him, I ran into him again in 2007 at TNA. He just came in for a visit. So that was funny because they just started to like me. I was young. You know, I was a year and a half into the business at that point, maybe a year. And I just gotten a perm. So Hillbilly Jim had a perm, so it was kind of like a rib to put me out there with my big brother. But, dude, I was looking at the building, and I want to say that building, I think the number was 30,000 people, Casey, for a tape.
In Montreal?
I want to say that number was 30. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's a giant. No, that's a giant building. I don't know if it's quite 30, but it's like 25. It's huge.
Yeah. I want to say with floor, the number in my head that keeps flashing is 30,000. And I'm like, you know, I look up with Jim as we're going down to the ring. I'm like, Jesus Christ. He goes, "Brother, this house is down. Look up there." And I'm like, there's like 2 rows not filled. He goes, "I'm surprised. Usually you know," I'm like, "This is a small house for you guys? My God." The day before that shot, I worked in front of 100 people at Westfest in Westmont, Illinois. So I was like, this is something else, you know?
Yeah, that's a giant building.
That was something. But, you know, it was good. It was a good match. And, you know, that's when I realized that
people don't realize. I don't think people realize how large of a man Hillbilly Jim is.
Oh, he's 6'10".
I don't know if he's 6'10", but he's probably 6'6", dude.
No,
he's a big man.
He's not Ronnie and Donnie Harris are 6'6", maybe 6'6", 167. Hillbilly Jim is taller.
Okay, but he's not 6'10", dude. He's not 7 feet tall.
Okay, 6'8". Dude, have you seen?
He's a big man.
Have you seen the Harris boys though?
Yeah, I've been around Jim. I like Hillbilly Jim. He's a good guy. What a good guy.
That's right. You've seen him.
He's still come around Vince's TV occasionally.
Isn't he just a good old boy?
Still works for him.
Yeah, isn't he just a good old boy?
I think whenever we were down by him, he would pop in.
Dude, anybody over 6'5" is a freak.
No, I know. I'm just saying he's a giant man. I don't know because he could move really well for his size
and great upper body.
Yeah, I think sometimes when these It's like John Tenta, back to Tenta. Dude, that brother moves so well for his size that he doesn't seem as big as he really is until you get next. I mean, dude, John Tenta, holy crap.
It's mind-blowing to me how he moved, and the fact that he was
one of the big. I think he's one of the most athletic big men ever. John Tenta.
Oh yeah, the fact that he can run the ropes, and he had to be 450 pounds. He was a legit sumo champion.
Yeah, legit, totally legit.
Yeah. Another one though, dude, nice guy. I would say he's the equivalent of a good old boy by English standards. They would call him a good bastard. And that's a compliment over there because he's a really class act.
Yeah.
You know, up there at that time, if you were a monster, either a big monster or a roided up monster, they beat the fuck out of TV guys.
Right.
Tenta didn't do that. And he could have. He's the guy that really could have with that sumo back.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Like I said, I'd like John Tenta in his prime. I'd like to find the guy who's pushing that guy around.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to meet the best. I'd like to meet the guy that could, you know, I don't think anybody's pushing John Tenta around.
Imagine him as an offensive tackle.
I'm just saying, like in a straight up, in a scuffle or who's taking John Tenta, man?
I don't know. I don't even remember the guy being body slammed.
Yeah, dude, I don't think anybody's taking John Tenta in his prime.
If he doesn't want to, no.
Hell no.
Yeah. He's the type of guy Tonga would have had to bite his ear, his nose, and take his eye.
Yeah, I don't know. That's one I think he's underrated when they always talk about tough guys, and I don't think John Tenta gets the credit he deserves because I don't think there's anybody I'm seriously, dude. I don't care what kind of skills you possess. How the hell are you going to take John Tenta in a fight?
Yeah, if he decides he doesn't want to go.
I feel like if I punched him in his face or his chin or his head, my hand would break. You see how big that guy?
I don't think you could get through to punch him because I think his hands would come up too quick.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He's an athlete too, on top of his size. I mean, see how big his hands are, dude? He just grab you and done. He just he'd probably just, if he didn't get his hands up, he'd just eat a couple punches that you'd throw. Wouldn't phase him, and then he would just grab you.
Brother, you're talking to an expert. I had his balls on my chin. I had John Tenta's balls on my chin. I know what you're saying.
Man, you couldn't think of it, and you yourself couldn't think of a better situation than that.
Ew. But the funniest thing in the world is what a gentleman. He is a gentleman.
Yeah.
Didn't WCW do something where they made him look silly?
Yeah, he was a shark, and he had like a row of teeth painted underneath his beard or on his beard or something.
That's unfortunately why today's wrestling fan doesn't understand.
Oh my God!
That was the booking of Bischoff and goddamn Hogan. That's Hogan and Bischoff creative right there.
Well, go back. Just real quick. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, Tenta had to be able to work, and he had to be able to be safe and move because in 1990, Hulk Hogan could work with whoever he wanted. I mean, this is at the apex. Hogan he called his own shot. So, dude, to have a long program with Hogan, dude, you had to have your shit together. You know what I'm saying? Like during that time period. So that just goes to show you. I mean, dude, he basically had even though Warrior was a champion at the time, dude, Hogan was still outdrawing him. That's the top spot. If you're not Hogan, no one's gonna have Hogan's spot. So you essentially have the top spot. And John Tenta almost had that for a year. So, dude,
and I will say this too, so you know, this was the politics there. When Tenta first came in, they couldn't do enough for him, dude. They would pull out his chair for him. They would have somebody carry his bags. They would treat him like that. But then the climate changed because that's when Vince started to go toward these bodybuilding stuff, and probably when they were trying to do the international bodybuilding shit. Because it switched, and then he became an afterthought right during that time, and I was like, wow, that's something.
Yeah.
Because they were onto something. I don't think that they had it penciled in, so they went with it, but they didn't put the energy into it that they originally intended. So he could have got even more over with Hogan.
Oh, sure. But I was just saying, like, man, to have a run with Hogan during that time period, if you were if you were a crowbar, or if you were someone that was going to hurt Hogan, or, dude, that you weren't working with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't happening. And that's good business, not just Hogan. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him. He doesn't want to work with a crowbar. I mean, but dude, that's the guy it's Hulk Hogan. And at that time period, I mean, he's the golden goose. He's drawing all the money. You know what I'm saying? So you can't risk him getting hurt out there with a guy that's 450 pounds, not athletic, and doesn't know how to work. So, I mean, dude, that just that alone it tells you everything you need to know about a John Tenta to be in that position that long with Hogan. That's just not happening if you don't have your shit together,
And my point is only that was over because it lasted a year, but it wasn't. They did not focus the energy on it that they could have. Imagine if they would have really focused their resources on John Tenta versus Hogan then.
Sure, yeah.
So that was kind of like he got over in spite of kind of half the company working against him.
Well, they must have really they must have really went another direction because, dude, like pretty much Hogan went over on everybody, and like Hogan went over. But they weren't even he wasn't pinning Earthquake. They were all like DQ and count out finishes. Even at SummerSlam was a count out. So that's basically the W. You know what I'm saying? Like during that time period, which is smart. I mean, they just, they're probably, that's what I'm saying. Like for them to do that, that means they wanted to come back with returns.
Yeah. In my opinion, Pat had all the booking juice, but Vince was still the owner. So I think Vince was focusing on half his energy on the IBF Bodybuilding Federation while keeping a pulse of the company. But that's why he just never put the resources into TV time developing the Earthquake as they did with, like, let's say a Bundy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was switching gears. And, I think the history even says that that's when they fell into the Lex Express and all that bullshit,
Yeah.
But anyway, the other thing about Tenta, just remembered about him. So I was telling some of the guys at camp this week, Eric Freedom, what a fucking goof. But I can say that because I've gone to the wall for that fucking guy, and he just fucked me over in the end. But anyway, I felt bad for him, man. He had this thing about it and made me feel bad for him. So I would get him booked for extra work, and to him that was like the pinnacle. Like I was his Santa Claus.
Right.
You know what I mean? A grown man needs a Santa. But anyway, so Dumbo never listened. I would say you look like a slob. Vince McMahon looked at Eric Freedom once in his clown red boots with red duct tape on them. He had race cars basically on the side of his fucking tights. He had a stretched out singlet, and he topped the cherry on the Sunday was him wearing an actual Raiders jacket with transmission fluid on one sleeve. He was going to wear that down to the ring, and Vince comes out of the booth and says, "You're certainly not going to put this guy on my television, are you?"
So, you better get away, man. That's going to be residual heat on you.
It was actually. That's why I severed the relationship. But so he goes out there and he works the Road Warriors, okay? And this dumbass doesn't know to bail when they hit the ring.
He's just standing in the ring when the Road Warriors hit the ring.
Like a fucking idiot. So they knocked the shit out of him, the ever-loving shit out of him, without headhunting. You know what I mean? Without breaking the jaw or dislocating anything or breaking his collarbone.
Super snug.
They wail on this dumb motherfucker, and he ain't got a choice, you know. And then they grab Tom Stone, and they give Tom Stone the finish, and they always protected Stone on the finish, you know. So he comes back, and I'm sitting there actually next to Tenta.
Yeah, wait a minute. Tom Stone took the finish from the Warriors?
Yeah, that was an awesome rib between Chief and Stone. So when the Road Warriors came into WWF for the first time, it was very uncomfortable up there because you had the Nasties, you had the Steiners, you had the Bulldogs, and then you had the Road Warriors, you know, and some other big teams. And it was really quiet and uncomfortable. And Stone couldn't take the uncomfortability. So he goes, guys, it's okay. The Road Warriors know it's a work now. We're all safe. So Stone breaks the ice, and everybody in the company is laughing their balls off as Animal looks over at him and says, you know what? Fuck you, Stone. So after that year, their first year on TV, Stone took the finish 4 times.
But, man.
No, but it was okay, man, because they took care of him, you know.
I just figured I'm just looking at that match, Tom Stone and Freedom. I think it's funny that Stone's the one who has to take the Doomsday device and Freedom's not taking it.
It was hilarious because it was a rib between the Stone and the Office. They teamed him with everybody 4 times, and then he wouldn't do shit except take the finish. Yeah. But so anyway, Freedom comes back. He's glassy-eyed. His head isn't misshaped, but the way they beat him, his hair was misshaped, making his head look misshaped. He's glassy-eyed. He's pink. He's red. He's got open sores from chops and forearms all over his body. And he walks up to them to give him the cold fish handshake and says, thanks, guys. That was a night off. He didn't even know what that meant.
He doesn't even know what night it is.
Tenta puts his hand on my leg and goes, that's a fucking idiot. This really happened, dude. Fact check me.
Dude, that's funny. Oh, yeah. Hey, thanks, guys. Night off. It was easy. It was easy. Night off, brother. Night off.
And Tenta goes,
what is he talking about? They just kicked the shit out of him.
And Tenta shakes his head, puts his hand on my leg and says, that right there is a fucking idiot.
Oh, no. Yeah, you're right. I mean, hey, if the Warriors beat you up, they beat you up, but then you come back and say, oh, night off. No, that was easy, guys. Night off. Easy.
Unbelievable, huh?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Tenta, though, was a really good guy, man.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I would have liked to have been around him, but.
So what else did you see on that 1990 SummerSlam?
Yeah, I just watched the 2 main events. Don't ask me how I got hooked up in that. It was Rude and Warrior in a cage, and then Hogan and Tenta, Earthquake.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, that was, Warrior was limited. Rude did as much as he could with them. It was a gimmick match. I mean, it's not the greatest. I mean, Rude flew for him. Rude tried. Rude did everything he could. I mean, whatever. I'm not knocking Warrior. I mean, dude, the guy was over. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, I think that's why number one, they put him with Rude because Rude previously they had worked for the IC title with each other. So Rude had already worked with Warrior and, and that time Rude was pretty, I mean, he was a good, really polished, great, really good worker by that point. I think they did the cage to try to, cover, they worked a gimmick match just to maybe, to help Warrior, I think.
Well, Rude took a lot of pride in his work. A lot of pride.
And you could tell. I mean, dude, Rude was bumping his ass off. I mean, taking bumps into the cage. He was doing everything he could to get the guy over,
Well, that's what finally happened is, Rude got branded as being difficult to work with, or they tried to, because he was so frustrated with being work. Warrior was over because of the way Vince marketed him, but Rude wanted match quality. He wanted to be in that spot because that spot paid 20% more. But he couldn't keep that spot because Warrior was so awful. So he got really frustrated working with that guy.
Yeah.
I
heard Rude knocked him during a match when back in the day. I heard he knocked him flat, slapped Silly out in a match because Warrior was getting nutty out there, and he just turned around and hit him with a right to the chin and knocked his dick in the dirt.
Well, that's it, dude. Rude was a really tough guy, but he didn't want to do that. If he did that, it was necessary.
Right.
He probably told him once.
No. One of the greatest stories ever. This is just, speaking of that, this is how just, you're right. It was necessary. Probably had to slow him down or one of my favorite stories, and the fans at home know Joey Mercury, one half of Eminem, and I love Joey Mercury. He's one of us, Randy.
Yeah.
And, he was one of Vince's top agents for a long time. And I think he has a tremendous mind. I've spent a lot of time around him. I can't put him over enough. But anyways, when he was super green, I think he might have even been working for Bert. He worked Bill Dundee.
Oh my God.
I told you this story. Yeah. And Bill, just like Joey's, he's just green. So he's going 1,000,000 miles a minute. He's just working too fast, which we all do,
Yeah.
And he just hears Bill just hits him with a right and boom, knocks him into Queer Street on the spaghetti legs. Bill just goes, oh, that's enough of that, mate. He just didn't understand, but he went to the back and Bill explained to him. He's like, listen, I couldn't get you to slow down, mate. I had to do something. So he just tagged him enough, not to knock him out, but just to put him on the Queer Street so we could start working. He's like, mate, I couldn't get you to slow down, do something.
I have been there with Bill Dundee, and I'm grateful that Bill Dundee did that to me because I wouldn't have learned any other way. Yes, right. I get it. You get carried away and your adrenaline makes it so you can't stop. And then Bill fucking does that and you go, got it.
But like Joey thought he was being stiff or he was pissed. He's like, mate, I wasn't mad at you, but I couldn't get you to slow down, so I had to do something. But it was amazing. How good of a worker are you that you're in that control? How good of a puncher are you that you have that much control that you can tag someone just enough to just knock them silly, but not to knock them out?
That's what I'm trying to say. From the receiving end of that, dude, you get that shot and you see the flash and the stars.
Yeah.
But it's enough to where within 15 seconds you go, message received.
Yeah. I just always thought that was amazing. Number one, that Bill has that's how good of a worker Bill is.
Yes.
Number one, to do that. Number two, to be able to have that much control over his body, to just tag someone enough.
Yeah.
That much experience to tag someone enough to just knock them silly enough so then they slow down. And
dude, you literally see the flash. You literally see the flash, and then the trails. But you can come back and finish the match. But you literally in your brain, if you're a worker and you have aptitude, you go message received, sir.
They probably locked up a bunch of times. He tried calling a bunch of spots. He probably tried, whatever. When you're green, who knows? I don't know the ins and out of it. Next time
it's the adrenaline, man. You realize that something's wrong, but you can't stop what's already in motion unless you get slugged like that.
If I ever talk to Joey again, I'm gonna have him tell me that story again because I just thought that was a great story,
It's a shoot. It is a shoot. I have been there with Bill Dundee. It was a pivotal moment in my development.
Yeah. Sure, yeah. Yeah, no.
Anyway. And just like Joey, I didn't go and cry about it like a bitch. I said,
No.
thank you, because at the end of the day, you were right,
Well, Joey just thought like, he wasn't, like he said, he thought he fucked up or something, which he kind of was fucking up.
Oh,
but
no, we are fucking up.
He didn't potato him. He didn't stiff him just because he was pissed at him. He was like, listen, we got to get down to the business of the match here. We got to start working. I don't have time.
Brother, it had to be done.
Yeah.
Bill would not cheap shot you unless you were a cunt. If he thought you were worth the shit, you'd get that shot.
Well, I heard Bill was a little snug. He could be a little snug.
I loved it. It was believable. Bill was believable.
No, that hurt you. No, me too. Yeah. I would rather have it that way than a bunch of people groaning when people are.
I've worked with Bill over 100 times, maybe 200, but for sure I'm going to say 100, and never called shit except in that ring. So I know what you're talking about, and it made me an outstanding hand.
Right. Oh yeah, dude. Bill's shit.
Yeah, I love Bill.
Just, it goes without saying, great storyteller and what, but I mean, just from a aesthetic standpoint, just the way Bill moves in the ring and the way he throws his punches and locks up. I mean, and I'm always going to be partial to that style. I've always been a huge fan of that. And there's really nobody better than maybe Jerry Lawler, which I can argue sometimes Bill in his prime is just as good or better than Lawler.
Yeah, he's just smaller and not as charismatic as the King.
But I love watching Bill Dundee work. I can sit he made it so natural looking. Just the way
I said in this weekend shut up, goddammit. So I want to get this out before I forget it, not because you're being a punk. I just said I'm going to start doing these as Rand sees it, where I'll answer questions from people. Putting over Bill. But the point I'm trying to make is, no, I lost the fucking point I was trying to make, you asshole. Oh, some of the best matches that I've ever seen, Casey, and I wish you could have seen of being a proprietor of Danny Davis, were house show matches between Danny Davis and Bill Dundee.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the best matches I've ever seen, Casey.
I was going to say, because Danny's not too far behind Bill as far as aesthetically pleasing work,
And what that did was that stimulated Bill to crank it up. You see what I'm saying? So I've seen those guys do some 20-minute matches where these kids think they're innovating, high-flying, and high-spot bullshit. Fuck you. Danny and Bill were doing it in Evansville.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah. Oh, I bet, dude. Yeah. Jeez.
I wish that stuff was on tape.
Gonna have to look into that, see if anything exists.
No, the house shows are not on tape. I've done all the looking I can because as a trainer, as trainers, I would love to be able to show these guys, our students, the people we're training.
Bill and Danny.
From the house shows. The TV matches were compelling. The house show matches, they really said, here's a taste. Come on out, buy a ticket, and we're going to give you the full meal. And they did.
Oh, that's awesome.
And brother, Bill was 54 at the time.
He wasn't that old.
I believe 54? The number. Yes, he was. Yeah, because he's 2 years older than Boogie. He was 54. I don't care what you read on the internet. I know for a fact because I'd asked Bill and I'd asked Boogie about, Bill, why are you such a mark for Boogie?
Well, I just didn't know they were both in their 50s in the early 90s.
Yes, Boogie was 52, and Bill was a couple of years older. And you know what? So here's this stiff-ass Bill Dundee, right? When I was down there the last time in Memphis as a baby face, Bill was like, fuck you. I'll drive, kid. I don't want to ride in your truck. I want to ride in my Lincoln. And you're not driving my Lincoln. So I'm sitting there going, how does this happen? I'm getting driven by Bill Dundee because I was with Boogie, and Bill loves Boogie. He loves him some handsome Jimmy.
Right.
So that was actually a blast riding with those two.
Oh, I bet. Well, it's about that time, Rand.
So one last story. in regards to Mercury. You there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay. I forgot to tell you this. I don't know if I ever told you this before. But at some point, Bert was running Nashville, and he asked me to bring in a bunch of guys to look at. And it was before you broke in, probably right before you broke in. So, oh, yeah, Lynch was one of those guys. And he's like, hey, Bill Barron, no, he says, Ed Hellier did some networking for me. I bet you when I go in there, I'm going to go over on Bert's TV. He's tight with that Bill Barron's. You know, Bill Barron's? Yeah, I know. Bill's going to do something with me. I know it, you know. So he's building it up, and I'm going, yeah, you think so? You know, and I'm saying, do you think that he's going to give you a hug? Will he embrace you? You know? And he's green. I'm going, yeah, man. Bill Barron's, you and him are best friends. I see the writing on the wall, you know. So we walk in, and he goes, up. Hello, Mr. Barron's. I'm Philip Raceman, Adrian Lynch from Chicago. I'm the guy that's friends with Ed Hellier. And he goes, nice to meet you, Adrian. Shakes his hand and walks away. And I go, boys, that's what they call the old kayfabe. So Lynch learned a valuable lesson that day. Lynch learned a valuable lesson that day. And then Joey Mercury was in there with that York character. I don't think the Hardys were there.
Yeah.
There was another, I think Shannon Moore. No, not
Yeah.
Shannon. Shannon Moore was there. And possibly the Hurricane.
Yeah, that's probably a good possibility.
Definitely the Hurricane. So
yeah,
these kids are from small towns in Georgia.
Right.
You know? And I am going off and going crazy about the predators in the business, and Bert in particular, and Ronnie Gossett. And, before you or I leave this territory, I will have blown you. How does that feel to know, kid? You know, and all that shit. So as I'm changing, I start doing penis helicopters. And then I start making my peenie go from side to side, and it's smacking my hip flexors, you know?
Sure.
And I'm standing next to a young, green Joey Mercury.
Yeah.
Joey sits up, catches this. He turns pale as a ghost, and him and the Georgia boys get up and leave the locker room and go somewhere else to change. Because I scared him, you know?
Yeah, all the predators, and then you're over there slapping your dick.
Exactly. But I was like, wait, kid, it's a rib. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That really happened too. So I was down there once during that time frame when they were developing him and those other guys, you know?
Yeah.
You know, the one who didn't leave, who laughed like hell, was the Hurricane.
I was going to say, man, that sounds about right. Shane Helms, there's a good guy. I like him.
I think, honestly, from that point, when I did that and those guys walked out and he popped for it, I honestly think that's how me and Helms formed a bond.
Yeah, he's a man. He was up there. I was, I've been involved in a match with them. I worked like some goofy, like 4-corner tag match. I want to say he was in there, but I don't even know if we touched. Man, I like just being around him.
I did too. He's a good boy.
Good guy. Just a real good guy and a good worker too. I mean, he got it. You know, I always thought he was a good worker. I mean, just like I said,
great worker.
You know, like, man, when he got to WWE, man, he, doing the Hurricane gimmick and that shit, dude, that motherfucker was over, man. At one time, holy shit. I mean, dude, he knew how to get himself over. He knew how to, and that's the most important thing. I mean, whatever. I don't give a shit what you do or what you don't do or what you look like or don't do. Just get over.
Yeah.
There is no blueprint. There is no right way or wrong. I mean, sure, whatever, we can get it. But I mean, really, there is, just get over. That's the bottom line. I don't care how the hell you do it. Just get over, you know?
Well, look at what he did, how well he handled and carried when they were saddled with that horrible boy band 3-count gimmick. That goddamn Helms carried it. He got it over.
Yeah.
And everybody that was in there, Shannon Moore included, they ended up being better workers because of Helms.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, man, great worker and a great guy,
And funny. He's got that sick
Well, I know.
humor.
That's what I say. He's hilarious. He's hilarious.
Yeah. Like he likes that old West sexual predator era of wrestling like you do, you pig.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right, Chucko. Thanks for your
Chuck.
time. Guys, don't forget, Patreon, Pivot Share, Pro Wrestling Tees. If you can make it to our tapings live, it's going to be worth your while.
Yep, and also hit Randy up on the Twitter.
Hit me up on Insta.
And hit him up on Insta and the Facebook.
Not me. Premier Pro Wrestling, you penile implant.
You are Premier Pro Wrestling. I'm still working on getting that sign for the front of the arena to put next to the luchador.
What are you going to do? A picture of my head?
Yeah, just your head.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing that we waited because now I got a mustache.
No, I was going to put the moist maker up there.
What do you mean?
Remember I said I wanted
the Make Me Moist pic?
Yeah, can't I put that up there?
Hey, do you have a Make Me Moist pic at home?
I don't know. I thought I had one. I don't know. But you have that's on your Facebook or something. I'm going to go to Staples and just have them print that out on a Tarpoli. And, I'm going to put that, you said I could.
Yeah. You do it. I'll put it up there. I bet you it'll draw.
I'm going to just blow your 8x10 up to like 6x6.
4x6. 4x6.
4x6. Yeah. Okay.
I'll put that up there. It'll probably draw.
Just right next to the luchador is you standing in an alley with like a cardboard box next to you.
I swear to God, dude. I honestly sold almost all 5,000 of the 8x10 Rock and Randy Make Me Moist pics. As ridiculous as it seems.
You're really going to hang it up because I'm not going to just throw my money away for you to go, no, I'm not doing it. This is not professional. This is stupid.
In a heartbeat. They'll think it's the Sugar Shack.
I was going to say, they think it's all male review.
That's it, man. I'll put that in a heartbeat.
And then you show our baby faces. Okay, you're going to draw. Look, I just put a picture of myself to get the women in.
Yeah, it probably would, man, because it was a good pick. And at the time up here, you guys broke my balls, but in the South, you've seen those old fucking Fabulous One and Bill Dundee 8x10s with the button on the button.
Great. Those are great. Lawler on a bearskin rug with the crown over his trunk.
They didn't have that pic, did they?
Oh, yeah, that exists. Oh, yeah.
Will you find that for me? If you find it, that'll be the thumbnail this week.
In a heartbeat. Lawler on the bearskin rug with the crown. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, I got to get off here so I can find it. Send it to you.
All right, you have your work cut out for you now.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you.
Bye-bye.